Hey guys, welcome back to Matt's Cave. So, this is my wife's new Beetle TDI, or Beetle TDI, I guess they call it. It's a 2014 and we've had it for, I don't know, 5-6 years. And one of the things that we always lament is it does not have a backup camera. Well, on this channel, I actually documented putting in the RCD-330, replacing the RCD-510, and it has the ability to have a backup camera. So here it is. This is one of the flip-up backup cameras that when you put it in reverse, it flips up and a little camera pops out. The problem is, being a Beetle, this is an incredibly difficult installation. So basically, you have to pull off this piece, this piece, this piece. Then you have to route it through the little tube here into the headliner, down the C-pillar, and there's where it gets a little weird. So on this particular one, this is the one from China, you have to pick up the backup light. And in order to do that, we're going to need to run part of the cabling down the C-pillar and through here into this little panel where it can pick up the wire for the backup light, which is fine. But from there, we actually need to go to the front of the car via this panel, and then under the door in the little kick panel. Now, one of the things I thought about doing instead, this car does not have curtain airbags. So instead, I thought about running it up along here and down the B-pillar, down into the bowels of the car. I'm not sure how well that'll work, but I might give that a try. That way I don't have to remove all this junk. And I might be able to sneak around that. But basically, once we get up to the front, we need to pull all this out, this panel here, and go up to the front, remove this panel, and get it up into the dash. So yeah, lots of removing and so forth. It's going to be a really good time, I can assure you. So for right now, I'm just going to start by installing the backup camera and run the cabling up to the front here, front of the hatch, and get it all tied together and tied down, and then we'll go from there. Oh, by the way, this is the dash cam, the rear dash cam. So I just have it sneaking through the headliner and out. So that wasn't too bad to install. How hard can this be, right? Apparently it's very hard. There's very few documented instances online of people installing these. Everybody always says, yeah, I installed one, but they don't say how they did it. I think I found 1 or 2 installations, and one of them was a Beetle convertible, so which this one is not. So I figured, why don't I put one up? This may be correct, it may not be correct, it's just going to be the way I did it. So if there's a better way to do it, go to town. But anyway, be back in a moment when I get this apart, and we will see how it all went together. Hold tight. Okay, we are working on the Beetle. It's been a couple months since I filmed the original part of this. I pulled a muscle in my arm and haven't been able to do anything, so we are back. And so far I have pulled the inner bezel off of the hatch and exposed the actual latch right here. So that is what's getting replaced. We are going to be reusing this harness, and we're going to be adding a few more. And what I'm probably going to do is just zip tie all the harnesses together all the way up here. So it has to run all the way up and into the car. So that part's going to be really tricky. I don't know how much space there's going to be in there, but we will find out. I'll let you all know when I get there. So onward and upward, here we go. Before I continue, I just wanted to let you all know where all the clips were for this. You can see the holes where they were. There were actually 8 holes on this one. Actually, I left a clip in there, right there. But there were 8 clips on that top piece. There were 4 each on the sides, and you can see where they were here. And those actually come out this way. They don't come down, they go that way. So be mindful of that. And then this one up here was actually the easiest one to get off, believe it or not, because you just grabbed it on the inner and pulled and all the clips just gave way. I'm not sure how many there were, but I would say there was probably 8 to 12 total. But yeah, it came right off. So hardest one to start was this one. And it was a little tricky. You have to kind of lean or work from the sides because the Beetle has this nice big fat overhang here. But yeah, moving on. Oh, and after this, once I get it run through here, I do have to also drop the headliner a little bit and remove the C-pillar here, C-pillar trim. That's going to be fun too, in order to get the cabling down into the car properly. We'll just work our way through and see where we get, so hold tight. Okay, first gotcha of this whole thing. When putting in the latch, the drain hose is right here, and you cannot get your fingers in there. So the way, after installing this in here, I haven't bolted it in yet, I had to remove the latch to get to it. I just put some needle nose pliers in there and grabbed it and sort of wiggled it on. That was kind of the best way I could do it. The hose doesn't even come out of here, so it actually leads right to here. So whenever there's water in the hood latch, it just drains out. So yeah, pain in the rear, but we got it. So moving on. Okay, screw sizes I've needed so far are, for the back panel, there's 2 screws kind of hiding back here. Here's the holes for them. Those are T20s. The screws that hold in the camera / rear latch are T25 Torx. And then the bolts that hold the hood latch itself in are M8 triple squares. If you have those on hand, which I do because I have Volkswagens all over. So there you go. Okay, gotcha number 2. So the latch and the camera are back in, and I'm currently running the cabling along where all the other cables are. This blue wire here goes to the backup light. So they even put a nice little connector on it so that you can just tap into the wire down at the backup light. The problem is, this is a Beetle, so there's your camera, it flips out. So the wire has to go, the backup tap has to go from here all the way up to that grommet we were talking about, through the little hose here, back down through here, through the C-pillar, through here, and into this little door back here, where it will meet up with the backup light, or backup light, I don't know. One of the cables in there does it. And they give you that much wire. So once we get this all run, it's going to end right at the little tube here. So I have to attach more wire to this. Lovely. I don't know if I have any wire of this gauge. I might have to improvise, but yeah, I'm not happy about that. So let's just see what happens. Hold tight. Okay, back on the Beetle. It is the next day. I had to stop because I ran out of blue wire. There wasn't nearly enough to get where I needed it. I've since gotten some more and extended it with a butt connector. So we now have plenty. So now I am trying to get to this area to run the cabling through right here. The problem is that you have to drop the headliner slightly to be able to get in there. This does not want to come off of here or off of there. So that is going to have to stay. I'm going to have to use a fish line to get through there, to get all my cabling through there, which shouldn't be too bad. But getting this headliner to drop has proven to be really problematic because it is actually bolted up with a frame of some kind. So currently I've removed the C-pillar trim, which was really tricky. It had several clips. Here's a couple of them that remained in the car, but it wants to go this way, but it sure doesn't want to come off. You do have to remove this piece first, and this is held on with 2 screws here and here. One of them is behind a little cap, which, as you can see, is completely flush and does not like to come out. You have to really work at it. And so the next thing I did after I got the C-pillar trim off and that off was to try to drop the headliner, but it doesn't want to peel off at all. It's like it's just, as you can see, it's like, it's just stuck. So what I did, there's this little frame here that the C-pillar trim connects to, so I declipped that because it looks like the headliner is clipped to it. And it did help a little bit, but it didn't allow me to drop it any at all. So I have to get the headliner dropped a little bit in order to get that cabling through. So I'm going to have to button this up for now and do some research on how the headliners come out of these things. I don't need to drop it all the way, but I do need to drop it a little bit to get any cabling run through it. I only need to run it from here to here. And then all of it runs down here, and from the rest, through the rest of the car. Famous last words, it shouldn't be too bad, but I'll be back when I have a little more information and we'll keep on trying. By the way, without this connected to power, the latch does not work. I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, or last portion of this video, but the latch does not function like the original one did. You try it and nothing happens. So when you can shut the trunk and, you know, it stays shut, but the problem is you can't open it from the outside. So what I've had to do is crawl through the car and hit this little switch right here. See this little white switch? If you hit it that way, it unlatches the trunk and you can push it open from the inside. So that's how I've been getting in there. This is actually the emergency open, and on the trim there's a little slot that you can stick your key in and hit it. It'll open the trunk from the inside. So little safety tip there. I did send a message to DD Wren, who sells this on RCD330.com, and I said the latch doesn't open the door with the standard harness, and he said, oh, well, did you get the power hooked up to the latch? And I'm like, no. Well, there you go. Apparently it needs power to do that, whereas the old one didn't. So we will keep on going, and I'll be back in a little bit. It'll be seconds for you, but it'll be a day or two for me. So we'll just have to shut the door and continue this adventure another day. So be back in a bit. Okay, so it's been a couple of days. Welcome back, even though it hasn't, but yeah. So I got the cables run through the headliner. Remember last time I was telling you, oh, I can't get that hose unclipped, and you know, so I'll have to fish something through. Yeah, of course that didn't work. So we had to unlatch the hose to get the cabling through. It actually comes off fairly easily. As it turns out, on this end and on that end is a clip. If you push here, it will unclip from the car, and you're able to undo it and get it off. The problem is it's really, really wedged in there, like really wedged in there. It's very difficult to get it out of there and get any cabling run through it. So what I wound up doing is using some this little widget here, which is designed to run cables through walls and things. I was able to fit it through there once, and you got to be really careful because it's really easy to tear it, so you got to go real slow and real easy. But I was able to fish it through, and then I grabbed onto the black cable, which is the video cable here, and I was able to pulled it through. So when I went back in with it to try to go for the other two cables, it wasn't having it. There's just not enough space in there to do that. So what I wound up doing was I pulled the black cable back through slightly and then taped the red and the blue, this one and this one. I taped them to the video cable and pulled them through. Now, the problem with that is the red cable has this giant fusible link on it and a fuse and all this other stuff. So I clipped it off. and then pulled it through. So I will reattach that, either solder it or use a butt connector to put it back on. But yeah, that was the only gotcha there. So you may be able to do it differently. You could probably pull it through the other direction, but you have to pull this giant plug through there, and that's not much better. So I just went with that, and it was only one spot I had to clip, and then I could pull it through. So yeah, it's all run. It's run from the latch, down the door, into the car, through the headliner, and out right here. Now, I was mentioning before that the headliner didn't want to drop, and that is true. It still didn't want to drop. I was able to, it appears that it's clipped on in the back with 4 clips, and I was able to declip one and drop it just enough to get the wires run through here and then run down the side here. This cable here that's dangling is for the rear dash cam. So it's a USB cable. So that stays. I thought about running it up through here and have it come out the top there, but there's just no way I'm gonna get it through that black hose like I did the others. So it's out. It's gonna be the way it's been. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. So now that I've got it all run through the headliner, smooth sailing, right? The only panels I need to remove are this panel here, which is terrifying me to no end, and I have to remove this panel here, and then the hood latch has to come off, the hood latch and this panel up here, and from there we're done removing stuff in the car, and we can actually run all the cables up to the front, and I can reassemble this thing. So yeah, we'll get back on it, and I'll keep updating as I go. When I get this panel off, I will show you how it came off, and also where it attaches, so that it's a little bit easier. The problem with the Beetle, there is no information on it. I only found one other video where someone installed the dash cam, and it didn't explain any of this other stuff. So I'm trying to be as thorough as I can, so that anyone out there who needs to do this can get their backup camera installed without too much fuss. But yeah, hopefully we can get her done. So I'll be back soon. One other thing to add to this, in order to get the blue connector through that one, I depinned it. I took a photo of it so that I can get it reattached correctly, but that's how I got it through the little tube. I just had to grab onto these cables with the little fish line and pull it through. So hopefully I didn't damage anything. It doesn't look like I did. Looks like it'll be okay. But those are the pins that go in there. So we will put those back when we get there. So just an addendum to the last section. Back in a moment. Okay, so it's been about an hour or so since my last little cut, and I have actually fished the wire all the way to the driver's door sill. So we're getting there. What I did was I put this piece back in and then tied the cables to it. So I'll put the cover back on over it. I came down underneath the seat belt, down in here, and then behind the panel. So the panel, you can get it out, but I was having a devil of a time getting it out. I was able to unlatch it from up here. There's 2 clips and it's not really a clip, it's more of that where it slides on. So I slid it off and was able to open this just enough to get the fish jigger thingamajigger through there and push the cabling through. I was able to tie the couple cables to that and push it through to the front. And it came out right here. Actually, it came out up here somewhere, and I was able to route it down. So it's routed. The reason I haven't reattached this yet is because I need to remove this piece, and there is a bolt, a hidden bolt down there somewhere that I'm going to find probably tomorrow. So I need to unbolt that, and then I'll be able to pull that off, hide it, and then get the last little bit, and then we can finally attach it to the radio. So, and then hopefully the whole thing works. I'm terrified. But once I get it all in, if it works and everything works proper, then we're gonna button this whole thing back up again, and hopefully it'll look like I was never here. Hopefully. So anyway, I'm losing my light rapidly, so we will tackle this again tomorrow. Hold tight, I will be back. So a bit of an addendum that I'm going to throw in here, just because I forgot to mention it. The other parts that you need to remove is the back seat, which has to come off. It actually just pops up on the corners here and here, and then there's a couple of hooks that hook onto a bar in the back. It actually came out pretty easy. I just popped it and unhooked it, and it came right out of the car, so that wasn't a big deal. The backs can stay in, and the B-pillar trim here had to come out. Now it is being held in by the strap here. There are 2 screws. You have to, and I apologize for the light. My lighting is disappearing quickly, but there are 2 screws in the top. One of them holds the latch on. There's a little cap that is really easy to break. You pop that off, and there's a screw in under there. Once this comes out, there's one more screw in there that you pop out, and then you get your pry tool in here and you pop it out from the front, and then that way, and it comes right off. So those 2 things actually needed to be in my video, and I did not include them, and I apologize. Back to the video. Okay, when we last left off, we had gotten the cable run all the way through this panel, and we were right here. So the next part was to remove the driver's kick panel here, and that was actually a little tricky because there was a plug, sort of a one of those plugs that goes in spreads with a plug inside of it to hold it in. There was one of those, and then down, that goes straight down into the body, there was a bolt that held it down. It was a 10 millimeter. And I was able to get my hand in here and get that bolt out, and I was able to use a pry tool to get the little plastic nugget off of here. And then I used another plastic pry tool to yoink up, and there were 4 clips holding it down right here. So I was able to yank it up, and basically all I did was just stuffed it down in here, from in here all the way up to here. Once I got up here, I cross over and go right in here. I did not have to remove this. All I did was kind of run it up the side here and in. So you can pull this panel off with a pry tool pretty easily. And then I draped the wires through there's a little door here. I pulled it off, it's right there. And then I have attached the ground to the screw right here. So the ground is on, and I'm currently reattaching my power wire so that I can pop it on there and plug it into the fuse panel, and maybe we can actually open the trunk. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Tomorrow, I'm losing my light right now, but tomorrow I'm gonna come back out here, remove the radio again, and we're gonna run that black wire, which is the actual video signal, up there, and we're gonna attach it, and there's another little harness that came with it for the CAN bus, and we're gonna attach that as well. And then we're gonna try it, and if it works, plan is to put it all back together. And it should not take long to put back together because all these panels just pop back in. It was the thing that took so much time was figuring out how and if I can get these panels out of here. So now that they're out, they're easy to put in, you know. Now that I know, it's easy, right? So that will be the next piece, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I'll be back on tomorrow, and we will see if we can finally finish this. So hold tight. Okay, it is the next day, and I am back to finish up the car. So one of the things that happened last night, right after I signed off, was I found a spot to connect the power in the fuse box. There was actually right here one that was unused. There was nothing there, and I plugged it in with my reconnected power wire and my ground right there, and something cool happened. So remember, this was not working, but now it does again. So that's exciting. So the only thing that's left is to run the video cable, the signal cable, which is this one here, up to the head unit. And that's it. So once I get it up there, we can connect everything up, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it should all work. So I'll be back in a few, and we will hopefully have this all connected up. I will show exactly where I connect everything up so that you guys can see. So hold tight. Once again, in my last video, I mentioned getting this trim out around the stereo is incredibly difficult. It really is. It does not want to come off. You have to really kind of fight it. It's this thing. And once again, I'm going to show again the clips on here. You start at the corners and the sides. Those come out the easiest. But these little hooks here, they are really hooked in there. They're really hard to get out. It feels like you're going to break it. It won't break, but it sure feels like it's gonna. So just take your time and be persistent, and it does finally give it up. The vents are easier, but they're still not easy. They're held in with clips on the sides. You can see them right there. And they do come out, but it's more of a pain. So not as painful as the trim, but boy, is it a pain. So anyway, now we're going to unscrew the RCD-330 and try to get this cable connected. Once we get it all connected up, we can hide all the wires so we don't have that mess. and then I just need to attach the rear backup light sensor, and then we can try it. So here we go. Okay, everything's together. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Oh, look at that! Ha ha! Eureka! And the lines work. That is awesome. Okay, some notes, and I apologize for the noise. It's Sunday, so yard work. But getting some of the fuses hooked up was fun on the Beetle. These are the ones that I chose. This one here was actually empty. This is for our dash cam. This one was empty, but it's an actual 12 volt power all the time. So I plugged that in. That's the flip camera power. And then this one here is the power for the CAN bus to do the lines. Now, they suggested using the headlight fuse, but the problem is it only works when the headlights are on. So I need to relocate that one. But not a big deal. We'll figure out which one we can use and just swap it over. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, once we got the CAN bus piece hooked up and all the wiring done, it was just a matter of getting everything sorted in the rear. I did bump into one problem with the signal wire here. This blue wire, it was not making good contact there, and the reason being was the jacket of the extension wire I bought was too thick, so the fuse tap that he had would not break through the outer shell. So what I did was I stripped off the end and just had it attached straight to wire, and that seemed to work just fine. So otherwise, yeah, there's my damage. So I've got to put the car back together, which shouldn't take too terribly long. It's always easier to put it back together than to take it apart. So we'll get on that, and hopefully that doesn't take too long. But I'll be back in a bit, and we'll kind of wrap this up and get if there's any other thoughts or anything like that, I'll let you know then, so hang on. All right, and we're all done. So everything's back together again, bolted down, screwed, glued, whatever else needs to be done. Beetle is back to normal. So everything went back together much easier than it came apart, which is probably why it's designed the way it is. But everything is sealed right back up all the way to the front. And oops, I gotta close the hatch. And the backup camera still works perfectly. The only thing is there was a metal clip that fell into the hatch, and it makes a rattling noise when you shut it. Wife's not going to be happy about that, but it is what it is. So when we get in the car, we don't even have to start it. We can do this, and there it is. And there she blows. Very cool. So camera is in, and I deem the project complete. This is pretty cool here, watch. And wait for it. There it is. Anywho, all right. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. In any case, take care and have fun working on your car. Later.